We're finally ready. It is time for someone else to take the lead. As the score now stands, it is 1-1 apiece between White Wolf Palace and Get on the Deer. And now someone has to take the lead, and it's going to be here on Highview. Not even going to waste any time because we're already in game, already ready to get underway. And it looks like we are going to have a complete mirror matchup. It is going to be the Rus, the French, and the Mongols appearing here on Highview. And I think that they are, yeah, they're not fully mirrored. And this generation is, oh, wow. This is actually brutal for Dinkey. Look at the generation, folks. He's actually very far out. His two teammates are very far back together, and then he's kind of exposed on the front. So Dinkey is likely to take a lot of aggression due to this generation. Meanwhile, out on the side, Yo is not as exposed. He's so far off that if they tried to flank attack, they're going to take too long to arrive. I think this is very much a kind of WWP bias map right now. We'll see how they handle it. Last time we did see Get on the Deer here on Highview, they ran a phenomenal showing. Right? Seither, he took the level of greed. There was early aggression coming out from the Mongol player. And then, of course, there was that switch over where when we got into that later phase of the game, spoiler alert if you want to still see that series, Dinkey destroyed in the late game with Elite Knights. The question is whether he's going to get the same opportunity because his positioning is going to put him under a lot more pressure compared to that series we saw before against Neptune and his lads, a different Chinese team, in fact. So kind of interesting that we get the same matchups, and once again, it's going to be the Aussies versus the Chinese. So, question is who's going to be taking the greed and to what extent. I think Yo can actually get away with a lot in this game. It all depends on how aggressive Vegie is. Vegie is very much a Mongol outpost spam. He's one of those dirty people. And I wouldn't be surprised if he already starts smuggling. Yep, there it is. 2 villagers. And I respect he's doing this. It's such a long distance. I think if you run 1 villager, you're possibly going to get sniped out on 1. You miss your timing. This is going to allow him to get in position quick enough. Meanwhile, on the other side, is there going to be a similar move? Koala, yes, he's moving out 2 villagers as well. And there's not going to be any assistance, right, from the central players on either side, which means that both of these French players are going to get shut out a bit. The problem is, how can Vegie keep up the pressure long-term when it's such a long distance to cover to reach his French player he's aggressing against, compared to on the other side, where Koala has a very chill, quick, just vibing across the street and then arriving in the base of Dinkey. I think this was a selected generation, which is why I'm still racking my brain about here, guys. I mean, this wasn't just random generated. These tournaments tend to, like, pull their maps. I assume that Lidicor and his team done the same. I know that was being done for the EGC tournaments. I would expect the same out of a $20,000 tournament here. But either way, like, I don't know how this fully got approved. This, to me, just feels bonkers. Yeah, there's a bit of distance between the 2 northern players and the southern Chinese player here, but it's not comparative to the positioning that's happening over here. Dinkey is really dislodged from his team. You can see the difference when you see, like, one corner is occupied, this corner in the mirror isn't even close to occupied. Meanwhile, snipe out Seither. Bounty is currently sitting up at about the same, so looks like he's being matched by ViVi at around 275. So they should both easily crack 500 at this rate. Depends on where the other players have been sniping out Dean. It looks like they've been sniping out only some of them. But here we go, moving in. Oh, this outpost placement as well. It's so good. It's on the full wood line. This is the only wood you have near your base. And he was allowed to sneak this in. Meanwhile, on the other side, similar coming out, but this is less vulnerable. Look, you can switch across to the other side very easily. And it's too close in range. He has to back it up more. So Dinkey should still be able to access his wood on the west side here in a more safe location. Meanwhile, when you look at Yo is going to be pushed back to the other side entirely, and he can't go for the left side because it's just as easily exposed to Vegie. And there's a lot of tree lines here as well that would be accessible. So really important that this is getting down early. Koala already plopped down 1 outpost, and he denied the gold already. And the gold hasn't been denied on the other side. So Yo will make it up. Dinkey, however, did he get enough? Yes, he's underway. School of Cavalry is almost complete. This outpost is going to be a big deal. Both of them getting some in place. Wolves going down. Fantastic out, Yo. Denying that opportunity to wrap round. Will also move out to probably collect up the deer. I think, has he gone for pro scouts? No. So what is the play with this double scout? Because he's up to, is he up to 3? Or am I missing the colors? It might just be 2, yeah. So we'll just keep eyeballs out. He shouldn't be going pro scouts. Remember, when you have a Roost player on your team, he should be kind of compensating for you, right? He should be spamming out a lot of additional scouts because he hasn't got military force early, and then he should be dropping off the carcasses at your base. A nice outpost by Dinkey. Solidifies control here, means he won't be denied on this wood front for the moment. Needs to be careful of the roaming forces, as you can see, though, denying him from picking up and getting on the deer. Meanwhile, back in the base of green here, Yo. Seems like he's fine for the most. He's going for straggler trees. He will have that switch over. Archery range is already being dropped. What's going? Wait. Wow. Okay, that is unexpected. What a cool switch up. Dinkey, because he needs that gold, he needs some trickle. Look what he done. I was confused by the colors for a sec, and now I see why. I was right. Seither, remember, he's playing Roost. They don't need gold. They don't use their gold vein. So he went, bro, come to my base. I'm not going to be pressured. I'm a center player. It's too greedy for them to dive me. They will not expect you to have gold, and they will very quickly believe that you won't have access to knights at all. But we know the difference here. We know that you do. Dinkey, he's denied again. Koala's blocking him out. And there's no similar play coming out from Vegie. Vegie, feeling like a vegetable right now. His brain is rotting from trying to find a way to make this work. He's wrapping around the other side now, but the gold has already been accessed. This crawling is already denying this gold vein. He needs to deny the second one, and I have to wonder if there'll be a similar play. Will Yo play into the base of ViVi and take his gold away as well? But now, keep in mind this Falcon's not being used. This Falcon would allow you to snipe. I'm kind of surprised. This is a very missed trick by Vegie. If he gets close enough and drops the Falcon, he'll see the villagers and he'll snipe them out. But he doesn't have the information, the heads up right now, confirmation, in fact, that there are a bunch of villagers on this line, which is why I think he hasn't used the Falcon. The other side, though, Dinkey getting very uncomfortable. The outpost crawl continues. He denied the previous one. He gets one closer. And now you're starved. This is very hard. And he rides out. Yep, he has to do this. It doesn't feel good. You're going to lose 1 or 2 villagers, but if you don't do this, the game's going to be over in 5 minutes. So all the villagers move out. They start a riot, and they will burn this place to the ground. The cool thing is you can afford to lose 1 or 2 villagers as France, because remember, you build them quicker at 18 seconds at this stage in the game. I think you lost 3 villagers in total. That's pretty painful. They will get it down, and their own outpost going up. Meanwhile, on the other side, was the Falcon used yet? Here he comes, moving in. Vegie getting the vision here. Oh, why are you not using that Falcon? He gets a few shots out at least, but really missing out on the ability to min-max his damage. I think he could have deployed the Falcon there. I'm pretty sure he just would have kept the vision, but unable to do so. And there will be a switch onto the other tree line. Archer's already in position, means it's very hard for Vegie to keep extending this outpost network. But look at this! What a greedy drop of an outpost placement. They're going to try and punish it. He needs to back up fast. Vegie will get away just in time before he loses the lads. Well, I say that. He might still lose them. The final arrow comes out. That's going to be one of the villagers falling. That's frustrating. That's going to stunt your build speed, and he will have to cancel it in the end. Meanwhile, in the base of Dinkey, has he stabilized? Somewhat. He reclaims his wood line to the south. He has all these outposts in place, so he will get his wood now. But that is a big denial, and it should put him behind the timings of Yo in the coming minutes. But everyone up at Feudal, and 2 players will crack Castle. Similar timings, exact timings, in fact. Abbey of Trinity on both sides. So no diversification. Last time we did see the Aussie boys here in Highview, their opponents did decide to go into the High Trade House, but because they match timings, you don't need to make that sacrifice. You will be able to get your share of the relics with your Warrior Monks. Is there any boom up? Dinkey finally able to get some knights out, trying to pressure back Koala. Wants to slow him down because Vegie has had a free time in this, right? He hasn't really been raided at all. There hasn't been any pressure. Yo might try to do it now, but there's already outposts in place. So, oh, there was. Yeah, so he moved in. He lost the knight. Got 1 or 2 villagers for it. So you need to do the same for your Dinkey. Because right now, if we look at the comparative count, Vegie is sitting at 29, and then Koala up at 31. It's a 2-point difference. So you have to either stop him from gathering or snipe out, but you can't now that there's spears here. Frustrating. Meanwhile, in the south, he's sneaking in again. Oh, and he sees this, but he can't do anything right now. It's going to be frustrating. Remember, even if this doesn't help now, it will help in 5 minutes. When you're halfway through this tree line, you're going to be close enough that a Falcon will allow multiple outposts to snipe out all of your villagers here. It's very dangerous, which is why also Yo needs to get rid of this one at some stage. But can't rush to do so. Tech up now available for Koala, so he's booming up as we'd expect out in the Mongols. And I believe on the same... Comparative, Vegie not there yet. His gold got denied. Remember, being sniped out once or twice, being slowed on the gathering here means he's vastly behind the timing that Koala is going to achieve with Castle as the Mongols. Khan now being buffered off, so Yo not getting too greedy into the night front. Instead, look what he's doing. He's prepping for a Castle Age rush, understanding that Dinkey can't match because of how much he suffered. Although Dinkey did slowly gain gold over here, amassing more villages at the back line, there is no denying the fact that he's struggling to get the food in his economy. Look at this switch over already into farmlands. More scouts coming through. Seither, it's more like siege relief, right? It's the people that row across the river while your castle's under siege and deliver food to the defenders. That is the role of Seither right now. He's the hero of the people. Riding out to take carcasses away from their opponent now. The tech up, almost done. Step readout about to be complete. Bad Koala will be the third player to enter the castle. Nobody else looking that close right now. Everyone just being delayed. I mean, I say that, Yo, he should be able to race up real soon. Just needs to sort his gold situation. Vegie is finally underway. Only 6 people working this, though, so he's going to be quite stunted. The question is whether Koala can immediately do some of this. Can he dive in? Can he apply pressure onto Dinkey? Because Dinkey is at the cusp of just being annihilated, right? Everything is so condensed. He's on the front line. Everything's been pushed, boxed in towards his TC. He doesn't actually have this extension. And now the damage being done. Look at this. The outpost doing the work. He sees him. Oh, my. And that's the vision from the other side. And he doesn't know what's going on because of the attacks that are happening elsewhere. So the pings are going off. Dinkey doesn't realize it. He'll finally come to the realization he's being sniped, but he's going to lose more villagers at this rate. I mean, I lie. He hasn't realized. That's just the drop-offs. Oh my god. Dinkey, look at the score just dipping right now. The damage being done here. Dinkey now down to 30 eco. Meanwhile, his counterpart, Yo, is up at 38. And that is pure pain. And he realizes that finally, Dinkey pulls them back, tries to shift over, but where do you shift? The outposts are still in place. You might lose another village if you're not careful. And he is becoming the kryptonite of his own team quickly, the weakness, the chink in the armor, and that's why he has to go for the second TC. But this is on the front line. You're the frontline player, and you're having to go greedy into multi-TCs for recovery. This could leave you somewhat vulnerable. Especially with Lancers now moving in from Koala. Tech up now, underway. Yo moving up in the world. Dinkey just sidestepping. He needs to scale economically before he can go technologically. Knight's trying to keep the Lancers at bay, but you're at sheer disadvantage in these fights, remember. These are tech-free Knights compared to tech 2, so it's not a good fight for you ever. Dinkey has to back up. Doesn't want to expose his TC, but now how do you work this TC? How do you ever get people in the eco lines when you have Lancers dancing around your base? You need assistance. Seither needs to reach that critical mass and move. He's got a decent amount of horse archers, but keep in mind that he's going to be being matched at all times by ViVi. In fact, where is ViVi's army right now? Did he play more greedy? The horse archer count, I can't see them anywhere on the map. Okay, there they are. They wrapped around. Yeah, so he has the edge over Seither as well here. So everything is looking up right now for White Wolf Palace. Meanwhile, Deer, they're not living in a palace. They're living in the streets. They're struggling to get by. They're struggling to find value on all fronts as all their players are behind their counterparts. Well, I say that. Second group of horse archers was hiding, so maybe Seither does have the edge. By the time he arrives, that advantage might dissipate. Wood, once again, not access. The real big limiting factor right now for Dinkey. More outposts crawling out. Another reason why he needs all that wood. Raids coming in. Vegie making the move. He spots the greed. The TC being built, the Mangonel shot's coming out. And he hasn't completed the TC, and I don't think Yo's going to get it down. What a move out of Vegie. The double Mangonel built in the field, the power of the Mongols being used and compelling Yo back into his base. And now that TC is going to be sacrificed. Not only are you going to lose the cost of building it, but also your opponent is now going to get 50 food and 50 gold. Actually, no. Sorry, he's not. They didn't complete it. But it's still a loss, right? It's still the fact that you invested this much in it. It's just going to be burnt down. So frustrating situation from Yo as he loses a bunch of resources, has to fall back, drops a siege workshop in a bad location as well. Denied on the gold, and he's going to lose this 300 wood investment. Yo, I don't know if he's panicking or what. He's making a lot of mistakes, though. Warrior Monk also falling. Vegie He might be that curveball. He might be that Falcon punch that Get on the Deer need to start taking control of this game. In the meantime, Dinkey is holding. Pressure is mounting the other side. Seither wrapping in from the north. I believe he made a raid in onto the economy. Wasn't able to find mass value, but I think he maybe sniped a few. Eco at 51 for Seither. Meanwhile, when we look at ViVi, he's at 50. Well, low play. We'll push him away. Remember, you can't convert units. So, religion, people are too stubborn. They believe what they believe. So he can't actually take Seither's Warrior Monk away from him. But he will take these relics, and he will be on the move. Right now, good count, and a second TC now coming out. 3 of these relics have already been banked by both players, which means he can get aggressive with the remaining ones, right? He can just try and convert people in the field. Meanwhile, Vegie ramping up the pressure, gets through that Siege Workshop, and I'm starting to feel like Yo is the weak point here. We said that Dinkey was going to be the weak point, but I have to give it to him. Just like in the previous series, he is doing a fantastic job of defending, of parrying, and then looking for an opportunity to strike back later. I cannot say the same of Yo. Yo going green, now trying to drop a TC again in the north this time around. But look who's close by, Seither. With the forces in place, but it looks like ViVi correctly placed to count this out, and he has the numbers, and he'll ambush him. And Seither needs to get the hell out of dodge. He needs to do it right now. Also, bad Koala playing to the south. They need to actually play relief for the French player, because look at the siege coming in. The damage now starting to be done onto the mining camp and then straight into the economy, raising every building as he goes because he does get paid to do so. Dinkey still being frustrated here. But it's even. It's at a point where he can hold. He doesn't need relief right now. Instead, they need to play towards the south. They need to leverage their edge, but they can't. They have to back up. They see the reinforcements have arrived, and they can't hang around with the Mangonels. But the Mangonels are going to take a long time to get out, remember. They don't have the Yam. They're 0.88 tiles per second. Now, not so much Yam, but more Ram speed going to be achieved for Koala. Not making that heavy investment into Mangonels, instead goes to the Rams. In fact, yeah, he didn't get the siege engineering improved. He wouldn't even have the option. And look at the move out. Dinkey quick to try and burn this down. Needs to be careful. The spears, of course, will back up. That Yam, that's the frustration. That's why he needs the outpost gone. If that's gone, Koala loses his staging point. But right now, he has speed and he has momentum. But Seither, it looks like he's going to give the power of that combination to Aussies, as he's moving in from the south, and Koala's out of position all of a sudden. And this is the reactionary phase. The way they're playing this is perfect. What they're doing right now is they're playing the bending hills. Get on the deer. This is buying them so much time and getting them so much value. They keep pushing in the south, forcing a response there, then moving to the north. And that's the whole play, right? They know that their opponents are stronger right now, so they're picking them apart on the south and the north. And they're trying to avoid these big engagements, but this time they'll be engaged. Mangonel's getting a few shots out, but will be burnt down before the second salvo comes out. And the Spearmen are all that remains, and they will not take long to get through. However, not good microing coming out from ViVi. ViVi losing a lot more of these horse archers than he should. They will clear up the Spearmen in the end. Now Seither moving across. Relief never arrived. They were too quick to try and intercept, and that's the weakness of not having the Yam there. But now the pinch attack on both sides. Seither wrapping around. Koala out of position and not engaging just yet. They're going to bait him off of the main fight, and now they pinch him. ViVi in too deep is going to lose the horse archers. And the backstab isn't good enough. The damage coming out with the Saint's Blessing. Seither has the edge here, and Koala in trouble. Is going to lose the army as well. And Seither right now doing what we'd expect. The top-level player on the side of Get on the Deer is carrying this mid-game again. You give him the power, you give him the room, and he will deliver as he is doing here on Highview. Now raids in by the French Knight. Dinkey trying to get eyeballs on. He's about to come under pressure, but relief is on the way. Don't worry, son. Hold on just a few minutes, and we will have that very naughty Koala out of here. They are Australian after all. They do know how to deal with koalas. As cute as they may be, sometimes you just got to fill them full of arrows. Okay, I got a strike from Petter after that comment. Knights right out, Dinkey engaging. There's still only Royal Knights. Remember, this whole time he hasn't been able to tech up. He's just cannon fodder, but it buys time for the reinforcements to arrive. Seither backstabbing. Koala will retreat to the south where he has more of these outposts. These outposts will now not last long. The Knights, their job is to burn them down. Seither's job is to put more arrows into these Koala Knights. And now the reinforcements. ViVi built a new army. It is arriving soon. Seither is pulling away though. And he still has the numbers, 52 to the 36. The difference here, the real big Hail Mary, the thing that's going to matter at this rate is the difference between these two Roost players. And right now, Seither is looking miles ahead of ViVi. And what a counter it is compared to Game 2, where it was actually ViVi with the China versus England, making Seither look absolutely irrelevant. But now the ride in. More villages being sniped up. And remember, Dinkey did get that second TC. He can afford to lose some. However, his opponent is scaling. Now, Yo going into a third TC on the southern side. As he has been relieved of all the pressure, he feels he has the room to extend out. Outpost looking to be dropped by Dinkey, trying to actually get access to this fourth gold vein again. Has been a while. Seither dictating the flow. The difference maker is the fact that this is really a 3v2, right? When you think about it, there hasn't been much involvement in Yo. So Vegie has been a bit slow, but he tried to fight earlier, right? He's playing in the center, he got caught out, he got punished, but he's been a little bit more present right now than Yo. Yo is close to being at a stage where he'll begin to tech up, right? With 3 TCs, he's going to start to scale, and then he can look to access into Imperial. And Imperial French Knights are brutal to deal with. Dinkey, in the meantime, still doesn't even have Castle Age Knights. He's stuck and locked into Feudal still. And always under pressure. Finally getting some relief, though. Much needed. We'll get through these outposts. He will put an end to the forward base of Koala. I say forward base, it's a staging point, right? The outpost, just giving that forward point of operations with which you get the Yam movement speed, is able to push you in. And that's been the difference maker time and time again so far. Raiden again. Dinkey exposed once more. Will garrison into the outpost, tries to get the rest of the villagers away. Some of them just doing dances. I think they believe if they run around this gold vein enough, they will summon a giant gold demon to kill the Koala. But that is a myth. It has never actually been proven outside of Age of Mythology. Yo, stationing in the forest here, gaining some ground. The raids are coming in. Vegie in a bit of trouble. He's extending. He's building a TC. He's looking to scale up. That's something that we haven't seen on the other side. Koala still playing 1 TC. If they see this, they're going to have to strike soon. They need to punish it. But Spears are here to defend the gold line. The movement out. Vegie's safe. There's so many outposts here. He'll just garrison up. And now you can't really engage. The fact that Yo's taking this fight is bad. The Spearmen trade out well, remember. Their vet status against the vet Royal Knights, so they get plenty of bonus damage, and they have plenty of health to get through. I don't like the fact that Yo engaged this. He could have just peeled off. Like, what else is he focusing on right now? There's no other fight that he's involved in. Seither. Main army a little bit too late to arrive. These numbers are starting to even up. 56 now to the 74. He is somewhat catching up when he picks off the stragglers of Seither. But both of them are reaching critical mass. They're close to pop cap, and thus their maximum damage potential is almost achieved. But look at the move out of Vegie. Defends against the Knights and moves in to punish the TC. And 3 Mangonels now. 3 Mangonels is very dangerous. That's the critical number. If these Horse Archers try to counter that on their own, they might be exposed. But look what's being exposed instead. Vegie, his economy is exposed. Because they see he's attacking aggressively against the French player, it means it's an easy move in, as ViVi will move into the base of Vegie. And Vegie, so much economy, is vulnerable here. They'll ride straight through. No response though. Seither, he doubles down in the front. They need to defend Dinkey King, and then they need to punish into the other Mongol player. And that means that Vegie is all alone on the home field here. He needs value. He's moving in. He's totally out of position. This move forward, being spotted out, revealing himself the way he did, means he does not have defenses back at home. And so many villagers dying here. The Horse Archer is now up in Elite Horse Archer status, as ViVi is the first player to crack Imperial Age in this game. And he puts it to good use instantly. And the damage is high. And if you want to bounce back, you need to find a way to annihilate Bad Koala right now. Riding out. So many Lancers make it so challenging, though, especially when he has the Yam movement speed on the home front. Seither sends a small battalion of these Horse Archers to deal with what's happening in the base of Vegie. Vegie will garrison up and buy some time, but damage has been heavily done here. Down to 28 eco units. 2 TCs means he does have room to recover, but it is going to take a lot of time. He needs to snipe elsewhere, and you're in a bit of trouble here. A bit of a pickle. You're not able to move quick enough, and the keep is going to be dropped, so Yo is not going to be vulnerable here anymore. And Vegie losing relevance in this game quickly. Seither needs to fix this. Straight in, looking at Koala's economy. 64 eco units that can be sniped out, but they're hiding in the north. They played the Roost campaign, run into the shrubbery, don't come back anytime soon. The archers are raiding. The Horse Archers moving through, can't hang around, don't want to have too many sniped. In the meantime, Dinkey King will move in onto that gold line. These outposts can be burnt down quickly, but you will lose some knights for it. Remember, they are upgraded with the Springwood emplacements. Meanwhile, in the south, a pushback. The Mangonels are exposed. Vegie's going to lose the entire army at this rate. The Horse Archers are arriving as well. There's no way that you can contend with this. He's in full retreat. Seither just trying to wipe the bottom off his bottom here as Vegie looking helpless at this stage in the game. More horse archers in the north still raiding. Never found those villages. They snuck out the back. And this is not enough damage. Koala, look at the count. 56 still. Meanwhile, Vegie's trying to recover up at 33, but his economy is weaker. And that's the problem. Fight in the south still continuing here as they continue to chase him down. And the superior range is the difference now. Seither, he needs access. He needs to make it to Imperial, but he has no way of doing so. And now, all of a sudden, ViVi is the one dictating complete flow of this game with his superior horse archers both in damage, health, and range. You have to wonder, where's the recovery point now? Where's the tech up opportunity? Yo's about to crack it, and that's when this game feels all but over. You're about to be up against 2 Imperial Age players, and none of yours are ready to go up from castle at all. You're stuck. Magnell's on the home field. You're looking for a Hail Mary fight. You want to try and force a very condensed fight where you can exploit the value of these Magnells to break your opponent. That's the difference, right? Vegie didn't play dynamic. He played static. He built into Magnells because he has these infantry that can do so. That's something that hasn't been apparent the same for Koala. Koala went heavily into Lancers. These Lancers right now are holding the front. They're able to react to all phases. And it's making it very hard for Dinkey and Seither to put any sort of dink in the line of Koala. And instead, they're back again. ViVi demands tribute. Mangonel shots coming out, but look how much they can tank. They'll back away. The damage continues to be done. Knights are now moving in, getting rid of the outpost, stripping Vegie of that vital vision. Yo, playing a very blind game here. The Mangonel's a good hit. It'll scare him away, but it won't kill him off. Koala. It's just a dance. He's 2 versus 1 up here. He's drawing so much attention. Seither is never able to harness his full potential, and fighting on 2 fronts is burning his resources. It means he's never able to scale up. And you look in this base, like, look at it. It's 2 TCs, I think it was in the end. He stopped at 2. Meanwhile, over here, Seither, I don't think he ever, he never went for a secondary TC. So he's always been miles behind his counterpart across the aisle, also playing Roos. And right in. Keep trying to be dropped quickly by Dinkey. Dinkey hasn't got many reinforcements here to protect. The wraparound trying to pinch ViVi out of location. The keep will be complete. But is the damage done? Yo, now up in Imperial Age. And this is where the French player will be able to run through Vegie on his own, as he will be able to reach elite status with his Royal Knights. And these Lancers, they're making short work of the defenses. Seither cannot hold this anymore, and Dinkey is about to be exposed. Bombard's coming in. It took a while, but this is the difference maker we were looking for. V about to siege heavily into Dinkey, the player who has been under fire from minute 1, might be the first one to go down in flames. All such is riding in, but they're outmatched. The amount of Lance is still here. The quality of these horse archers, yes, you double them up, but they do so much more damage. And they have so much more range. And as you're pushed off, the trades are going to be bad. The fire arrows also come in the equation, up to 23 damage per strike compared to the 16. And that's with the Saint's Blessing buff. Bombard sniping out a few while he's at it. And it's just trivial for V. V's able to hold it off. He's trading evenly, and look at the count just dropping. Seither, I think he's had enough at this stage. He can see this is no longer working. They're just bashing their head against a brick wall that refuses to budge. And with the bombards on the front and the horse archer army spent, Seither has little that he can contribute here. And in the south, things are about to turn from bad to worse. And that is why Vegie will surrender. He GG's out. Game 3 will end in favor of the Chinese lads as White Wolf Palace will go up 2-1. Mirror matchup, right down to the line. We are going to be treated to China, HRE, and the Abbasids on both sides. Probably the most popular composition for Hill and Dale. Very defensive, boomy type, capable civs, right? But one person from each side is going to have to make the sacrifice. One of them is going to have to hang around. It's probably not going to be the HRE player. I'm expecting greed from them. That's kind of the default de facto go-to. But we're finally in the game. Let's get into details as we can see it on our screen, as we are now in game number 4. And game number 4, the generation is going to be more stylistically towards what I call a an aggressive generation of Hillendale. The reason being is although there is a player more retracted that can be a little bit more greedy in the center, the interesting part when you get this type of generation is it makes Wonder victories a little bit more irksome, I feel like. I think there's a lot more accessibility to your base, right? There's a lot more angles of approach to cover. And it means that usually in this type of layout compared to the line formation Hillendales, these maps tend to end with a big brutal battle around sacred sites versus going late game and people just dropping Wonder and hoping that the game ticks theirs first. That is a reference to an earlier series where, yes, the game truly was decided by the tick rate at the server, as both teams had literally dropped their Wonders at pretty much the exact same time. But I better just prep the location, because I remember we were doing a 1v1 tournament, so I did move the sacred site and the Wonder site victory. So that's why we're standing still for a moment. I'm just typing them out off screen, because we might end up having to use them anyway, as I said, because, well, Hillendale is the infamous map in the entire pool that can end with just a very stalemate Wonder victory, because you do tend to get bogged down and just end up bodying each other. There's plenty of resources on Hillendale, so no one ends up running out before the Wonder comes into play either. But we're going to try and focus on something a bit more positive. There are some potential choices that could be made here to be more aggressive. When we look at the central players, there's actually differing choices. The HRE player in the south for the Aussie boys is going to not be mirrored in the north. So V, once again, manning China. Remember, he took China on Danube River in Game 2, where he played a very selfless style. This might be the bait and switch. This is a cool thing that we've seen utilized by, I believe it's BC and the boys especially done it. They stuck the HRE player in the center, and then they boomed the outskirt players instead, noticing that their opponent was going to full focus fire on the centralized player, and thus still be able to be in the game because it's HRE player that gets castle so quick. We'll see if something similar is done in the south. It all comes down to whether WWP wants to be aggressive. It might be they try to boom up themselves. The Abbasid player is going to be on the flank. And it looks like, yeah, it's just a flip choice. So Abbasids on opposite sides, and then vice versa for the remaining players, as you've got HRE in the outskirts here, China here. So we should probably talk about who the greed factor is here, right? Early on, it's obviously going to be the HRE. They're looking to get quickly into castle. That is the whole motive. That's the way they function. But then what happens next is the big question marker. Well, there's a lot of possibilities. We've seen games where Abbasids just kind of play this cannon fodder early on. They build in the spears. They get a creeping siege going. They reach castle, and then they're outside your base already at Mangonels. But what we've seen more on Hillendale is the opposite for the Abbasids. The Abbasid player tends to be the ultra greed factor in these compositions. It's surprising as well. Everyone expects the HRE to do it. The beautiful thing about the way the HRE functions on Hillendale is on such a defensible, easily defensible map, right? They usually don't have to deal with early aggression. What they do instead is they quickly tech into castle. They gather up the Regnitz Cathedral relics, and then they're able to scale into Imperial while also pushing knights in the meantime. And that frees up a lot of room in the greed factor available to you for the economical benefits the Abbasids to kind of bleed through, right? Where they drop multiple TCs, they move towards the foot of their base, and they look to drop a forward base in the center. I think that's going to be the critical detail here. Something that I did remember from the earlier games that WWP done a better job of than, say, the Deer did, is they weren't afraid to invest in aggressive military production build placements early on. Remember when we looked at Danube, we saw a situation where the HRE player at the back dropped his military district in his teammate's base, right? Understanding that he needed to get troops to the front quicker. And I think that's a critical detail that can actually decide the better Abbasid player in these matchups. It's very important for you to have those 4 bases because your army is so static and slow, right? Abbasids don't build into camels unless you're in ultra late game against multi-cav armies. And they don't go into lancers that frequently. Instead, they're looking to go into the man-at-arms, the spearmen, and the archers because that's where their power lies. Their ability to use those units to move across the battlefield and then quickly build up a siege army outside their opponent's base. Early defenses going down. So a little bit paranoid coming out from Vegie. Vegie, I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to like kind of TC boom up a bit on all 3 of them. You're going to need someone present in the center though. Because if your opponent goes for a raiding comp, right, where they actually have some cavalry out in the field early on, it means you're not getting your share of the relics. You need at least 3 of these. And although there are some nicely stationed outside your base, not too far away, if your opponent does go into horsemen, that alone will counter out your prelate's attempts to pick up those relics. And that is a critical detail in this matchup. Remember that when you bank those relics in the Regnitz Cathedral, they are worth 300 gold per minute each. That is 900 gold. For reference, that is about 20 villagers mining gold. It's a huge chunk of your economy. And also the importance of that in the late game is not only are you getting infinite gold that never stops coming to you as long as your Rex Feeder is standing, it also means in the late game, you can function on a smaller economy, which allows you to field a bigger military force than other civs. So tech up's underway. Everyone now up in feudal. Scout does sneak in, keeping eyeballs on this. I think most of this is walled up. One side still remaining to go. Center as well. But we can see these are still exposed. And I believe it's, yeah, they're the only ones getting vision. Really big mistake coming out from WWP. They should be trying to get eyeballs on what their opponent is doing. It's quite easy to try and just play a predictive style here on Hill and Dale. People don't tend to deviate. They play a very greedy style of Age of Empires 4 when they have this much room. But you want to be safe against it, right? You want to understand if all three of them, for example, are dropping multi-TCs. Most of the time, players do. But it means that you have the potential option to get more aggressive if you see your opponents aren't fielding a single military building. But as it stands, in the center, V will be dropping a second TC. There's already a second TC being built up by Seither. Nothing similar yet out of bad Koala. Koala is heavy on the stone, but he seems to have mishandled his economy. He's not ready on the wood front because he did go into the stable. So it looks like he's looking to get into early horsemen, and he will be the guarder for his HRE player to pick up the relics. Question is, who's going to do similar on the other side? Because Seither right now is playing Ultra Greed. Are they going to make Dinkey pay for it himself? They're like, well, if he gets all the benefits, he might as well pay all the costs. Turns their nose up. A little bit snobbish of an approach. The Chinese player could actually cover this quite easily. So he's getting his second TC. After this, I would really love to see him drop a stable, though. I think that's the reason he hasn't yet. Vegie does have surplus wood, so he could afford it. And remember, you gather a lot of food very quick, courtesy of overseeing from the Imperial officials, giving you that extra 20% drop-off. Right now, big mistake by Vegie here, though. He's still overseeing just 2 villagers working on the stone line versus all these people on the food. This is a small detail, a small optimization in your economy that has a lot of knock-on effect. Remember that right now, these are all 350 food sources, yeah? The moment you stick your Imperial official watching over this and supervising it, giving you that extra 20% on drop-off, you turn what is a 350 food source into a 420. That is a big booster to your safe economy early on, and it prevents you from having to extend out sooner, where not having wheelbarrow becomes more crippling. That's why over here we can see Imperial official working on this. These are small details that really make the difference, by the way. We're talking about high-level players, very equally talented players. You could see this series easily going 5 games every day of the week between these two sides. So just making these small optimizations really will go the extra mile. And there we go, Imperial official finally moving over, only to gather taxes. So really not happy with this from Vegie. I think this is some small detail he forgot about. It's very easy to kind of slip up. There's a lot going on the map you're trying to keep track of, even at this stage in the game. But a missed trick that's definitely going to cost him down the line. And a third TC now coming out from Seither. So no real aggressive signs. Second TC, Koala is behind him. This is kind of evening up with the inefficiencies we talked about from Vegie. So the difference really has to come out of the HRE players, right? HRE players that already bank their relics. First one now coming in. And, well, Dinkey, he's only now getting the tech up. He's miles behind. This is the problem. He has moved out in the field, but look at it. The horsemen are already in position. And he's lost 2 prelates here. Minus 200 gold, not to mention the fact that that means he misses out on 2 villages in his early economy. Such a good play out of Koala. And this is the greed. This is what we warn against so many times in these 3-on-3s. You can't be this greedy. You have to have someone sacrificing early to recover later. Usually Seither is the one doing that, but in this game, Seither is the ultra greed factor. He's going up to the 4th TC. Meanwhile, Koala, yes, he's stuck on 2, but he has secured so much eco now for his HRE player while denying a crap ton away from Dinkey. And another prelate down. This is bad. This is getting really bad, folks. He's going to lose a 4th. That's 400 gold down the drain, and you down 3 villagers because remember, every time you lose a prelate, to replace it, you have to build it out of your town center, which means you're not producing a villager. Oh, boy. Dinkey. This is troublesome. Is he even going to... Yeah, he's going for the one far out. He might get this relic, but everything else is contested. He's not going to access it. And Koala, how many scouts has he played into? I think he had a secondary scout, but now it's just horsemen. Scouts are really good in this situation. It's a lot of open ground. You want to keep eyeballs on. But it looks like he will not spot out this relic being brought back. The rest is a done deal. Dinkey is locked in. This is a big problem. If we look at the income per minute, we can see it right now. Dinkey, 5, 4. Then we look across at his counterpart, 7, 5. it's already a big difference that it's just amassing quicker for Licks. Now they'll burn it down. I'm trying to remember when they used the other player. Because remember that this team has 4 players, right? It's not just the 3 on this Chinese stack. They have Yo. Yeah, I was right. Yeah, I was about to say, this isn't... So they are intentionally playing... It's not just a stand-in. They're switching out. We didn't get a chance to mention this, but this looks like a good time to highlight it. Remember last game, it wasn't Licks that was in it. It was Yo. Yo was playing as France. This time around, they substitute in Licks. This is a cool concept, right? Sacrificing some of your earnings, but having these different specialists. Really interesting choice. It also means different playstyles come into the picture. This is really off-putting if you are the Aussie lads here. Because what you'll end up with more money if you win this. Think about it this way. It's not just the fact you can go, oh, well, they're one-trick ponies. They don't know how to play all these different civs. Every player has a different playstyle. Imagine if 2 players play HRE. They're going to have a very different approach in these team settings. And it's definitely catching the side of the get on the deer off guard. And oh my god, no! Not again! They didn't snipe the one on the other side because the heals came out. Meanwhile, he's going to lose 2 more prelates. This is becoming insurmountable for Dinkey quick. And he can't even get behind the wall. Spearmen are finally there, but this should have been him miles ago. Minutes ago, in fact, out of Seither. This detail has cost them so much. The greed on this Abbassid player has crippled his HRE. And Dinkey, despite this, miraculously will find his way up with a pass of Swabia. But on the other side, let's check on it. Do you really want to know? Do you really want to see what is happening in the base of Licks? Licks is already about to be complete with the pass of Swabia, and he has surplus. You can see the difference, right? 35. We compare it on the other side. Dinkey sitting at 30. That's the difference. On top of that, what, 500 gold additional spent? It slowed him down so much. I'm going to give him credit, though. This is still a decent timing despite all of that. For Dinkey to still be about to crack past the Swabia within 20 seconds of his opponent speaks volumes to his capabilities as a player. He should have been shut out a lot more. This comes down to the greed factor, and it means that Seither now has to pay for it. And that he has to return something to this composition. To take this much greed, to allow this as a team, it is now on Seither to dictate flow in the mid-game because he doesn't have an excuse. Going this many TCs at this stage, ahead of his counterpart on the other side, he needs to now justify it. Now walls going down, so they are going to be a little bit defensive here. Meanwhile, in the base of China, how many TCs was it in the end? Up to 3. When we look on the other side, yep, it was 3 as well. Vegie a little bit behind, but will make it up to match his China opponent. Now it is just on the Abbassid players. These Abbassid players that should be underway, yep, already halfway there. This is the frustrating part sometimes about playing Abbasids. You can't speed up that tech up, right? You can't get a kind of leveraged edge. So really, it's just going to take a lot of time to do so. And then also that slows down your tech up, right? So even when you play kind of a greedy, aggressive on the tech and eco side, Abbasids, you're still gated behind this 2-minute timer each time on your landmark upgrade, right? And although you don't have to invest villages, which gives you a more efficient economy, there are situations where you really wish you could speed this up. Not to mention the fact you really wish you had buildings that you were dropping. Think about how powerful some of these buildings can be, right? You're not getting a Palace of Swabia that functions as 4 TCs with a 75% discount on the cost. You're not getting a Regnitz Cathedral that gives you huge amounts of gold when you bank relics. You're not getting an Imperial Academy that increases attacks rates. You're getting a Barbican Sun, which is a great defense on the front early on. You're not getting an Astronomical Clock Tower that gives you these siege weapons with an extra 50% health. It's all this stuff you're missing out on. And while you do get some interesting tech gains, such as fresh foodstuffs, which usually enables Abbassid players to build TCs en masse quicker than other people because they can sustain the output from them, you're missing out on a lot for little other gains that I'd like to mention. For example, Medical Centers in theory seems good. It rarely comes in as a clutch play in these games. The Preservation of Knowledge is quite nice, yes, for Imperial Age techs, but what about your Castle Age spike? I feel like Castle is the one key point. If it wasn't for the power of Mangonels right now and the siege creep potential because you can build them out in the field, Abbasids would feel like a very confused and lost civ. This is their redeeming factor. This is their power spike in Castle. They don't have many other things to brag about, but they have this. Licks has a 4 base. He's already in position. Even building Spearmen, not something I'd expect to see when you have an Abbassid player on your team. Makes me wonder what the switch up is. Is Koala likely to go into Camels? No. It is going to be the Racks now. No forward base, though. It's weird that the HRE player is doing this, but the Abyssal player isn't. The Abyssal player is always going to be static. The HRE player sometimes is a bit more fluid. And also, if they both go into infantry, remember the HRE player has the edge because marching drills does give you that additional 10% movement speed, juicing you up. And it looks like he hasn't even taken that yet, so... Yeah, a little bit slow on the... Oh, no, I've seen this before. We had this in a series before. It's such a big map. It's so easy to forget yourself. He's dropped both of these blacksmiths, but he hasn't started any research at all. It might be because he's resource capped, but I'm kind of worried he's forgetting about it, because I have seen this from HRE players especially. It's so easy to forget when you, like, double or like, trip drop smiths in the back of your base. Moving out. Elite man at arms from Dinkey. He actually beat his opponent to the punchline as he was sidestepping, but he will be up there now. Lix does get up to the elite man at arms. And Langsneck now coming out as well. So, not able to deny this. Keep going up. One villager will survive. Johnny. He's only got 3 fingers left. He's missing a leg, but it's going to be enough as he taps away with his hammer. He will complete the keep. The stronghold is going to be there on the front line, but Seither is looking to instantly punish it. He's in. Siege Workshop's pricey at 300 wood each. Charges in with the Spearman on top of the man-at-arms forced away. And the Mangonels will punish Lix for not getting his hands on the marching drills. Still so slow when he tries to move away. And he never completed it. Look at it. He didn't get the final tap out. The keep won't even put a dent in Seither's army. Crucial and perfect timing there coming out from the Aussie lad to get out and deny this forward keep. And he won't even rush to get it down. He says, move forward. Get rid of the forward district. This is an annoying investment for Lix to lose at this stage. You look to scale up. Instead, he's going to lose the whole forward base. 150 wood for each of these structures, plus the 300 wood and the investment of 800 stone into the keep. Meanwhile, in the back of his base, he's running out of space to now build up a district because so much of it has been invested in the farms. And look how expansive China is next to him. This is the greed factor of China on this map. The limitation of Hill and Dale is meant to be space. Yeah? You trade defensiveness for space. But the problem is he doesn't even have his lion's share of the space because of the way that V has expanded himself. So much farmland because he wants maximum value out of the granaries means he's eating up a lot more space than most people would with a traditional mill drop. And just like that, the forward base is gone. Fire Lance is now coming out. Where's the counter? Where's the response? V, is he ready? Starting to come out now. But Vegie cracks it first. After the way this played, after the start that V had, it looked like he would remain ahead of Vegie, but Vegie is quicker up into Imperial, and he's already pushing out en masse these Fire Lancers that will soon be in elite status. Mangonel's in. Seither, he might have been a greedy boy. He might have thrown Dinkey under the bus, but finally Dinkey recovers. 3 relics have finally been banked. He is able to push forward, and Seither does earn his place. He took the greed factor into consideration, understanding the high tempo he would set immediately into castle ahead of his counterpart that heavily invested into horsemen. And it really is making the difference here. And they are getting awfully close to the base. And they will split up, trying to burn through. Lix, this is becoming somewhat pointless. I don't like what he's doing here anymore. He's investing way too much wood into this. Like we said, it's because he has nowhere in his base, right? He could build one out here, and yeah, this should have been happening before. He needs to prep a Rax line here. He needs to regroup with his troops and get together with V here to hold. V now having his own elite Fire Lancers in play. Still not teched up for Vegie, but we'll be there soon. Moving through, though. Everything being burned to smithereens. And they're going to have to fight soon. They can't give up much more ground. Otherwise, they're going to be boxed in, and in choke points, these Mangonels that are being built by Seither could break you in the blink of an eye. And wow, Lix, this is something else. I wouldn't advise it. It's a wasted idea, but he's going to try for it anyway. It might just get built because no one's playing out here just yet. I say that, Dinkey's busy capturing the Sacred Site, though. And they're about to have control of all Sacred Sites. No response just yet, but there will be a response coming soon. And it looks like they will successfully cap all 3 of these Sacred Sites. It was definitely something to consider in this type of game because of how easily accessible they are, remember. They're all stacked very close together. But the Rideout is now coming. He's looking to fight here. And they need a defender. And they have enough troops here. Remember, the Abysses, they can brace, which means that these Fire Lancers do not have a free ride through your lines. Abyss. Rams from Seither are going to be burnt down, even though they're pointless at the stage. No brace in the choke point. Keep cannot be completed. The villagers were sniped out on the side. Look at this. You can't get the value. V, he's playing into a choke point. He's being braced against. He's not getting the splash damage, and now the Mangonel's getting its own splash. Spiral's going to come out, though. They will counter this out. You're holding for the moment, but how long can you hold for? The cycle charge is about to come through from V. Langsneck trying to wrap around. They are squishy, but you're bogged in, and they can wrap around the back on the man-at-arms line. They need to be careful, though. The splash damage coming out. Dinkey gets stuck out of location. Is going to lose the 4th Battalion. However, he abandoned Koala. Koala is losing control of this hold right now as more Langsneck are starting to flood out, and reinforcements are arriving from Vegie as his elite Fire Lancers are about to enter the fold. Keep still trying to be constructed. It's going to be cancelled. Needs to back up. Too many Fire Lancers here. They lose the choke point. And now they can flood through. Not able to hold anymore. Vegie has to back up. Full base trying to be built. He needs these keeps quickly. They need to hold here. They need to delay. Otherwise, they can just ride through, and they're going to do exactly that. Straight in onto the keep line. They have to cancel and back up further because Vegie is too hesitant to engage, despite the fact that he has the numbers over V here. Push out. Needs to get in here right now. They need 4 bases. They need to defend them. I don't know why Vegie backed up that much. He had the numbers. He could have repelled him here, but he's paranoid. Now the Mangonel spam coming out from 2 players on the side of WWP is going to give them the edge over here, and they should be able to decap the Sacred Site. Wrap in. Vegie trying to buy time. New keep being dropped further back, but it's taking way too long. Reinforcements are arriving from the White Wolves. They are gaining ground. And the army's gone. Vegie, big mistake made here. He didn't get the tech ups either. He's actually outdone on the damage by each of these individual Fire Lancers coming out from V. Reinforcements are arriving, though. Slowly but surely, Seither is making his way out, and he still doesn't have a 4th base. Brace coming out. Going to force V back. Can't get his splash damage out. Mangonel's moving in. Sprills as well, starting to snipe out. The Mangonel's not being used by Koala, though. They're just AFKing on the spot. And the braces are holding him back. V, he can't do this alone. He needs the assistance to the siege. Only half of them are working. And they're not targeting at all. Koala starting to lose his numbers. Does still have the numbers in his favor on the Sprint count, though. And in the siege overall. And it will allow V to flood through. And what was starting to look like a little bit of a comeback is starting to backfire quickly as the team taking control of the center fast here is the White Wolves. Seither, all because he never built this 4 base. Everything is sitting back here. They need to start crawling out. That's the difference, right? Look how quickly you're able to reinforce Licks. He committed continuously to these 4 bases. Although it was risky, it's starting to pay dividends. Even the siege engine's coming out in the front. They're pushing in. Vegie not getting that charge splash, and instead he will experience the splash coming out from V. And a fallback coming out from Dinkey. You can't tank this Langsneck. Only 114 health for their name. More ground being forfeited. That Sacred Site victory condition is now gone. And your chances of proceeding to the semifinals might be as well at this rate. If you don't turn this around soon, you're going to be boxed in your base. So much surplus on Vegie, never able to push out enough of these Fire Lancers. Needs more stables, can't just rely on the discount. He needs to get more Fire Lancers out more regularly. But he's hesitant because his gold is capped. He doesn't have enough to pay the full price. Now Treb's even coming into play from Licks. An odd choice, but a choice made nonetheless. They need to regroup. Bombard's being sniped out as well. Springel's also sniping out these Mangonels. Mistakes being made by Seither and his cohort. More ground given over. Keeps being dropped. This time Dinkey in a good position. This one will at least go up. But how long will it last? Fire Lancers riding in. You're all boxed in. You aren't bracing either. You got engaged by the melee line, and that means V can move in, and he can just outnumber and wrap round the back. The front line is going to fall again. V is the difference maker here. V versus everything at this point. And he always has the numbers over Vegie. I guess the difference is he had ample meat on his plate because it is making the difference. He's got enough protein in his diet. His Lancers are looking pretty swole right now. And look at these small boys not even having the tech up. The University tech putting these Fire Lancers up to 200 health almost, whereas Vegie stuck at 160 and still being out-teched on the missile resistance, the melee resistance, and also the damage front. Everything is not there for Vegie. Vegie, now having gold surplus, should be able to get those techs, but is it going to be too late? The full base might fall in the blink of an eye. Dinkey King, he can't afford to lose this. The Mangonels are moving in, though. Bombards as well. being pushed back. They need to reach that critical threshold of bombards to hold here, but they will not be allowed to do so. V pushing the pressure again. Small group, small cohort, tanks the entirety of the line from Vegie, and it means the main group can move in to engage and force Vegie back further, exposing the racks to the burn down from Koala. And they're almost pinned. This is problematic. Look at the north. Vegie trying to find more resources. This was how he's able to boost his gold up. If this ever gets spotted out, though, you're in trouble. Not that they need to get rid of it. They're close to your base. They can force you back here easily. Spearman trying to brace again. The Mangonel factor is the concern, though. Here it comes. The damage done. Center line is going to start to break quickly. And V is just cannon foddering his way through everything here. I don't know if you can call it cannon fodder. It's definitely a cannon. And those cannons wipe the front line. Seither in trouble. Trying to get Spearman out quickly here. More coming in, though. V always seemingly pop-capped here, never slowing down. 200 pop-cap. At this moment, he loses a horse. It's instantly replaced. Dinkey King trying to do the best he can. Culverin's now coming out from Lix. Lix makes a mistake, gets too close, though. Spearman sniping him low. Needs to turn and fight, turn and burn, in fact. Wrap around the counter-attack. Vegie and Dinkey coming on the west flank. But the hold is there in the choke point from Koala between the stone wall and the stone outcropping here. As they cannot get past this natural defense line, he is holding and he is repelling Vegie away. And that is buying time to approach into the base. But now, finally, they will have to break. V, losing the main battalion, needs to fall back. Gives ground for the moment. Re-engagement. Vegie, he needs to find a way to reach this infrastructure. The difference maker here is that Lix is always on the front. You need to give a way for Dinkey to leverage his positioning. That's the difference right now, and you're the one who needs to be doing the raid, but right now he's always outmassed by V. This might be the first point in the game where he has more fire lancers on the front, at least from what I can remember. But the problem is he needs to push forward. He needs these bombards to get in range of that forward infrastructure. That is the difference maker time and time again, is the fact that Lix is extending. Look at him on the right side, sinking his way towards the base, and now he's waiting outside Seither's main base, waiting to knock on his door, and he's amassing the bombards. Just out of range of the vision. Yeah, you can't see him. You don't know he's here. And when you do know he's here, it might be too late because you're being baited into the center again. Once more into the fold, into a choke point where Mangonels could breach and delete you. But they're being sniped. Spearman's doing good work from Dinkey. Another shot comes out, min-max the damage, good value, backs up further. This is all a bait and switch though. Look what's massing on the side. Lix, just a few more and he will run straight through this. More infrastructure going down. They do not have a clue this is going on. V just baiting them out further. He's like, come on, come. Follow the breadcrumbs. Right now, the Aussie boys are like, ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. But guess what? Too much candy leads to diabetes, and it might be a heart attack for you. Because waiting on the side, Lix is almost ready to pounce, but it's going to be revealed by Seither. He has to go now. Seither moving out, may have just dodged a bullet because now he might be able to react in time, but he's on the clock. Stone walls already about to fall. Forward keep now being dropped. That Lix has been revealed. He won't commit more to the racks just yet, but he will ride in, and that's going to force Seither to bail on the front of his base. And they need to retreat. Here it comes. They're going to forfeit ground in the center, and this is where you need to chase down. But V not in position. Got counted out, and that buys time for Vegie to move to the west, but this might be a misplay. He is completely out of position right now. Dinkey trying to secure the area stone walls is even more reason why Vegie shouldn't be here, unless he plans to raid north instantly, but he needs to be fast. You're being exposed. Mangonel is the difference. Seither, he hasn't been building new siege weapons recently. They're out of position. He could build them, but he needs to take time to do so, and that's going to allow more room for Lix to push forward. And all the sacred sites now being capped this time in the favor of WWP. This time it will be about the 29-minute mark. It was just before that. But let me update and let me put that up on your screen. Wrap around. Dinkey King getting in quick. He comes around the back. He gets through the siege army, most of it in fact. Bombards still remain in the base though. And Lix needs relief here. He needs assistance. Where is that assistance at? Instead, they're riding west now. The Wonder's down, though. They constructed it. Where? Where is it right now? Let's have a quick look. Vegie. Vegie got it down. It's China again. And thus will start the tick down. 15 minutes until victory, but they need to hold. And that is why he fell back to the west side, to extend the control over here, to layer it and make it harder to breach. But it means that Seither is in a bit of a pickle, which is why they get quickly across here and will relieve him of the pressure coming out from Licks. And all this really because of V. V, I still can't spot his army. It must have got wiped. Because he had an army that could have rode across and relieved this. He could have pressured. He could have stabbed into the back of Seither as he retreated alongside Dinkey to try and reinforce the east side. I think that's the big mistake that's costing them dearly. However, keep in mind that the lads in the south are not out of the woods yet. If Get on the Deer want to even this up 2-2, they need to decap one of these sacred sites, because right now that is ticking down, and that is why you will see WWP fall back and wall this all up. They're going to try and hold. In the meantime, Licks will keep them in their base by keeping the pressure on the Seither. Really well played. The best way to defend here is to attack. Keep your opponents far, far away from those sacred sites. And look at the wrap as well. V coming in on the west side. And they're moving in. They're breaching. Vegie's in trouble. He needs assistance. He can't take this 2v1. Spears can brace in the choke point. Well, they'll look to do so. And this is not optimal from Vegie. He's not getting that stack damage. Instead, he's going to lose the army. And this is dangerous. He needs more reinforcements. Langsnick are now arriving from Dinkey. Dinkey could cleave through these quickly. But he needs to be quick, and he's going to be vulnerable to the charging from V. Here he comes. Can't get the splash damage, though. He needs to wrap around the back. He's blocked in the choke point by Koala. Not able to maximize the damage. Meanwhile, on the south side, some progress being made. It's now Seither versus Licks, and Seither does not have the edge here because he does not have the siege. And if you leave him on his own for more than 5 minutes, he might be dead. Charge in. The lines do start to split. Ground is being gained. Koala and V will ride into Vegie's economy lines. Getting ever closer to that wonder. And you have to wonder how the hell can Get on the Deer recover this? Where is their comeback plan? Because they are forfeiting ground in both the east and the west. And that means that China is looking best. Not necessarily in game, but definitely in terms of players, as WWP are close to closing this out. They're in on the TCs. They're burning it all down. You've let the Fire Lancers into your economy, and I don't know how you get them out. Primary TC burnt to smithereens in the south. The HRE Marines move in, and Vegie, he taps out. They GG it over. He's already out. He forfeits it over. And although his teammates may be reluctant to give it up, it looks like their journey will end here in the quarterfinals, as White Wolf will take this series 3-1 and proceed on through. And what a play. I like how I put 129 minutes on the sacred site timer. It didn't matter. Either timer in this game felt miles away. I love what I see out of White Wolf here. No hesitation. When they smell weakness, they pounce. That is the weakness of going for a wonder victory. But that's the situation you find yourself in. They had to try for it. They couldn't get out on the sacred sites anymore. They were being repulsed at every stage. And I think it comes back to the full base of operations. Very risky play coming out on the HRE side from Purple, trying to put those down. But even though he loses a bunch of them, it pays off that he commits to it. That's the difference maker here. It's the fact that you have an Abyssal player and an HRE player from Get on the Deer slowly pushing all this crap across the map. They're never able to get out and establish a foothold in the center. They tried with those forward keeps. Those keeps come a little bit too late. And although their initial choke point control is good, they eventually get choked out because there's just too many troops to hold back. That's the edge where WWP, they see the pressure that they're actually achieving and they never let up. They keep riding forward. The really big difference for me here was Vegie versus V. V clearly ahead. We talked about the economical advantages. Despite the fact that Vegie did get up into Imperial at a damn good timing from where he started, the difference is that V is getting the techs. He stops off. He gets that technological advantage. They're a little bit more tanky. They have better effective HP. He gets into the university tech quicker, and that gives the edge to annihilate Vegie in a one-on-one where it's just one versus the other. The Mangonel difference as well. Switching the spirals when it's critical, getting rid of Seither's initial cluster of siege weapons puts him miles behind. And it feels like from then on, every moment of the game is the Deer Boys just reacting to what's happening. They're never able to get a foothold. An amazing play coming out on the flank in the end from the HRE opponent, right? That move from Licks, setting up that full base, just out of vision. Also the patience. He doesn't rush. He only goes the moment he's spotted when the villagers come out. And then when he does ride in, he draws so much attention that any foothold that might have started to be established by Diz in the center is completely burnt to cinders. and that will give them the series here. Really well played by WWP. WWP will be the first people to move through from the quarterfinals to the semifinals, but we still need 3 more series to be resolved. If you have enjoyed what you saw here so far, guys, make sure that if you're watching the YouTube side, you subscribe, or if you're watching the Twitch side, quickly go do that and come back. If you want to watch me live, you can do so. That's when you can catch these games fresh off the line instantly as they happen. And make sure you follow me on Twitter to know when I'm doing things. Enough of the self-shilling, though, guys. We are now going to have to look for the next series. Thank you for watching if you're on the YouTube side.